I thought it would feel strange, having her back in our home that the distance would show, but the moment she walked in, it was like no time had passed, like she still belonged here. And the moment I saw how he looked at her, I realized something was about to shift, and none of us were ready for what that meant. Before we begin, if you've been enjoying these quiet but complicated stories, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the channel more than you know, and make sure you won't miss the next one. If this is your first time here, welcome. Hope you enjoy the story. Now let's begin. The first thing she did was kick off her shoes in the hallway, like no time had passed, like she still lived here. I hadn't seen her in almost a year, but it took all of 5 minutes for her to reclaim every bit of space in the room. She dropped her bag on the couch, pulled me into a hug that smelled like sunscreen and old perfume, then held my face and said, "God, I missed you." We opened wine before we unpacked her things. My husband joined us, half out of politeness, half out of curiosity. I could tell he remembered her stories, the chaos, the charm. I don't think he ever pictured her in our house, though especially not like this. She made herself at home, fast feet curled up under her, teasing him over dinner, joking about how boring we'd become. I laughed, but I also watched, because every time she made him smile, something twisted in me, tight and unfamiliar. After we ate, she grabbed the sponge before I could. "You cooked," she said to me. He poured wine. "That means I clean." She was always like this, confident, decisive, almost too comfortable in other people's lives. And then while scrubbing a plate, she looked over her shoulder at him and said, "She ever let you rest, or do you do all the work around here?" It froze. He chuckled awkwardly. I smiled too wide, but I felt it, that shift, that edge under her voice that didn't sound like teasing anymore. Later, I handed her one of my robes after her shower, a soft one I usually kept for weekends. She slipped it on right there in the doorway, without even turning away. And when she walked into the living room, robe hanging loose, damp hair still warm from the shower, I caught my husband watching. He didn't say a thing, neither did I. We sat together a little longer. The wine made everything soft, blurry, quiet. Then she asked, "Casual as anything? Want to be bad and all crash in the same bed, like old times?" It laughed, so did he, and I said yes. The lights were off, but none of us was sleeping. I lay on my side, facing the window, eyes wide open behind me. I could hear their breathing, his slower than usual, hers too even to be real. We were all just lying there, pretending weren't waiting for something to happen. The bed felt smaller than it ever had. Every inch of space between us felt charged, not in a loud way, quietly, like static before a storm. My skin prickled. Under the sheets, none of us had said a word since the lights went out, but I could feel the shift, not in the air, not in the room, in him. A small adjustment, barely a movement, but enough to let me know he wasn't just lying still. Then the blanket rustled, software, careful, followed by silence so sharp I'd felt deliberate. That's when I knew she had reached for him. He didn't pull away. He didn't speak. He just let out a kind of breath I hadn't heard from him before. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. She was touching him, and he was letting her. What surprised me most wasn't that it was happening. It was how easy it felt to let it happen. I stayed on my side, facing the wall, eyes open, the air behind me felt heavier, warmer. I could hear her soft and steady. She was still in control. She knew exactly what she was doing. He was between us, but more and more. I could feel him turning toward me, not with his body, but with his attention. His breathing shifted, his presence more focused, more deliberate. It was like he was trying to keep hold of something just out of reach. Then I felt it, his hands searching for mine beneath the blanket. When his fingers found me, I froze just for a second. But I didn't pull away. He didn't grip. He just held on loose, quiet, present. I kept my eyes open, staring into the dark, letting the moment stretch. Around us, he was still facing her, but he wasn't letting go of me. Something clicked inside me. Not a snap, not a break, just a shift. I wasn't outside this anymore. I wasn't a witness. I was part of it. He wasn't asking for permission. He was holding on to connection, to me. And whatever came next, he wanted me there for it. I didn't turn toward them, but I didn't turn away either. I stayed still on my side, eyes open in the dark. The room had gone quiet again, but the quiet wasn't empty. It was full, heavy, like we were all waiting for permission that Noon was willing to ask for. Then I felt the blanket shift again, more deliberate. This time he was still lying on his back, and she was moving closer, slow, steady, without a word. I could feel her, adjusting under the covers, could sense her knees shifting slightly beneath the blanket, the quiet way her arm rested. Near him, I didn't need to see it, to know something had changed. She was taking her time, not rushing, just getting comfortable. She moved with ease, like she'd done this before, like she felt completely at home here. I heard a faint breath from him, and then a quiet one from her. My pulse picked up, and I wasn't sure if it was nerves or anticipation. Maybe both. The bed creaked just once, just enough to let me know she had shifted. Again, rising slightly, adjusting her posture, like she was settling in beside him. Her movement was light and easy. Her pace was almost still, like she wanted every moment to last just a little longer. His breathing changed, slower, quieter. I could tell he was focused, listening, maybe not wanting to interrupt whatever this was, but she wasn't holding anything back. Every adjustment from her seemed deliberate, as small movement here, a quiet whisper there, something about how she'd missed being around him, how familiar it felt, how natural. He made it. I didn't move, but I was no longer just watching. My hand, still under the blanket, found the space between his arm and his side, not grabbing, just resting there. His fingers found mine a second later. He didn't squeeze. He didn't pull. He just held on, like he wanted to know I was still with him. I listened to them. I felt the energy in the room shift, the way her breath grew softer, the way his attention seemed to waver. Then all at once, everyone seemed to settle. No words, no movement, just a quiet pause shared between the three of us. I closed my eyes, not out of shame, but because I knew what came next, and I was ready for it. I didn't think. I just turned. The air felt dense, like the room hadn't breathed in a while. She was still near him, calm and quiet, in the faint light, her presence soft, but unmistakably, there he stayed still beside her, as though the moment might break if anyone moved too quickly. I didn't hesitate, no awkwardness, no uncertainty. I moved slowly across the sheet until I was beside them, until I was included. The blanket shifted lightly, but no one reacted. It didn't feel strange, it felt expected. I reached toward her first. My hand found its place near hers, and she turned slightly, just enough to let me know she'd felt it here. Yes met mine for a moment, clear and guarded, like she understood everything I couldn't say. Then I reached for him. My hand rested gently over his chest. He turned his head and our lips met briefly. It wasn't urgent, it wasn't heavy. It was steady, familiar, like we'd shared this space 1,000 times before. Only now with something unspoken between us. His hand lifted toward the back of my neck, not to lead, but to keep me close. She adjusted, beside him again, her movement quiet and smooth. She wasn't retreating, she was making space. I moved closer. We didn't speak. We didn't explain. We didn't need to. Our position settled naturally. Nothing was rehearsed, but everything made sense. I found myself lying between them, steady and still, surrounded by warmth and awareness. One of her hands found mine again, her grip firmer, this time certain. The room felt smaller, softer, the kind of quiet that doesn't ask for silence, it just holds it. There was no rhythm, no urgency, just closeness. She adjusted again. He shifted slightly. It stayed still. I could feel something building in me, not sharp or sudden, but steady. Not from touch or movement, but from being part of it. From knowing I wasn't on the outside anymore. From feeling chosen. That stirred something in me I hadn't expected. I turned my face into the space between them, let my hand brush against hers, let my other arm settle across him. I didn't know where I ended, and they began, and for once, I didn't need to. The room quieted even further, if that was possible. A stillness that carried weight without tension. And in that pause, gentle, open, complete, felt something shift inside me. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it just settled. And I let it, because in that quiet moment, surrounded by both of them, I felt seen. I felt steady, and for the first time in a very long time, I felt whole. Sometimes, the moment you feel most seen is the moment you never expected. It wasn't about control or permission. It was about being invited in and realizing you were never on the outside. To begin with, be honest. Do you wish you were there too? If you were, what would you be doing? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading before you leave. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Your support is everything. Thanks for being here.